Twyford.
Mr. Speaker, what a riveting speech from the cigar-smoking Health Minister from Northcote, the greatest friend this Parliament has ever delivered to the tobacco industry. The greatest friend of the tobacco industry. In fact, I'm worried on behalf of Jonathan Coleman, where is he going to get his supply of cigars now that the National Party's recruited half of the New Zealand tobacco industry into this Parliament? I'm worried his supply of free cigars is about to dry up. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about National's great State House sell-off, because this has been an utter shambles for the last 4 weeks, Mr. Speaker. It's a shambles, and let me count the way that the government's social housing policy has been a shambles. First, how many state houses does National intend to sell off? How many? Well, John Key says a few state houses. Paula Bennett told Patrick Gower when he said as many as 22,000, she said logically, maybe. She said, well, it could be thousands. Rawdon Christie asked John Key, is 20,000 homes an accurate figure? And John Key said, I don't think so, no. Well, the other big question that New Zealanders are wondering is, where will the money be invested, the billions of dollars that will be generated from the sale of state homes? Bill English says, well, we're not going to rebuild houses with it. It could go into the consolidated account. On another occasion, he said, well, if we want less housing stock, there's no point in rebuilding houses with it. Will the homes be let to private landlords, be sold to private landlords? Well, Bill English says, we could sell them to anybody. Bill English said, well, just go to the market and see who turns up, basically. Generally, financiers and developers are not interested in social housing because it's too hard. What drives their interest is wanting to do a better job with tenants. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a shambles. They're looking at privatising up to a third of an $18 billion public asset that's been putting a roof over the heads of vulnerable Kiwi families for 80 years now. And I think New Zealanders deserve a bit more clarity. But what is clear behind the bland Crosby-Textor assurances that trip so easily from the tongue of Paula Bennett, wraparound services, we're working with the community, we're all about the people, well, nothing could be further from the truth. What is clear here is that Bill English has had a back to the 90s moment. He and Treasury are on an ideological crusade to end state housing as we know it. Bill English's answer to the housing crisis, his answer to a shortage of affordable housing, is to blame the councils, to blame the RMA and flog off what state houses the government does own. He's basically said to the New Zealand Herald, he just wants to get the $18 billion state housing asset off the Crown's balance sheet. He wants to get the government out of the business of actually owning houses and simply pay a subsidy to landlords. Well, there are three reasons why this is a really dumb idea. Shifting tens of thousands of New Zealand families out of state housing and into a voucher system, as Paula Bennett describes it, effectively putting money directly into the pockets of landlords, will undoubtedly drive up rents. You don't increase supply, but you fuel demand by pumping subsidies in, just as National announced before the election by subsidising first home buyers in an overheated market. It will drive rents up. Second is that social housing tenants under this system will inevitably end up competing with first home buyers and other renters, making an already difficult housing market much worse. The third reason, sir, is that owning houses and having them earmarked for the express purpose of social housing means that even when the market gets tight, as it is now, at least you can be sure that there is a pool of housing there for the people who need it most. Under Paula Bennett's voucher system, that you don't get that kind of security. And for private landlords and profit providers are in the mix, as Bill English has said they will be. They will naturally go to where the best profits can be made. There's some kind of bizarre determination
by this government, sir, to somehow build an artificial market in social housing. But the market has never, ever delivered affordable, decent housing for the people who need it most.
Simon Speaker, the Honourable Simon
it is always a